Keen is one of the most popular hiking boots in the entire world. Every time I'm on a hike, I see at least one pair. And it was my go-to hiking boot for 2023. And it's probably the boot I recommend most when people are like, hey, I need a really comfortable hiker. But Keen has completely changed the way that they're making some of their parts and some of the most important components of their flagship boot, the Targhee. And so we're gonna cut this thing in half, run it through our test to really see if they've improved this boot and to show you exactly what they changed and why, because some are gonna love it, some might hate it. And I think it's important to know exactly why they changed things and how they changed things on arguably one of the most popular hiking boots in the modern age. And thanks to Keen for sending us these boots and sponsoring this video. So why do people love Keen so much? Well, the things I always recommend them for is a wide toe box. They're really soft underfoot, not a huge heel. They're really durable for a synthetic boot. There's almost no break-in period. And they're a fairly new company that started in 2003, so they're very innovative. They're always trying new crazy stuff, but there's plenty of reasons why people don't like Keen. I wish they had more taller options. Like I want an 8-inch boot. Like that just doesn't always work for me. Like in this video, we talked about how the water just always was in my boot because anytime I'm hiking and anything where I'm gonna get my boots wet, I need a tall enough boot that the water's not gonna come in through the collar and then to the inside of the boot. And it's a synthetic boot at the end of the day that obviously has some leather, but the vast majority of it is synthetic materials. So what is this boot? Well, the brand is obviously Keen. The style is the Targhee IV waterproof hiking boot. They weigh 1 pound 7 ounces. They retail for $165 and they're made in Thailand. And the way that Keen has positioned this new version of the Targhee is the last hiking boot you'll buy, our most durable Targhee yet. Now with glue-free, fused construction that won't delaminate, we guarantee it. And if you want a pair of these, be sure to check them out in the links in the description. And one of the biggest changes that they've made to this boot that people would never really notice is the midsole foam. Because the previous Targhees, as far as I understand, were all EVA foam. And EVA foam has its pros and cons. Some of the pros are it's really light, it's really flexible, it absorbs shock really well, but its main flaw is from its attributes, and it's that it bottoms out faster and it compresses a lot faster than other types of foam like polyurethane or PU foam. Because PU foam, on the other hand, it's durable, it bottoms out less, it gives you more squish for longer, but it is more rigid and it is heavier. And that's what they've moved this boot to, is a polyurethane or a PU foam. And when we get it cut in half, we'll do a comparison of the different durometers of these different foams, because we've cut apart a grundle of Keens, like 5 or 6 different Keens. Ultimately, it's a trade-off either way, but the goal with making the most durable hiking boot, PU makes sense. But I don't think it's the main reason why they switched to polyurethane, because I think the main reason they did it was they fundamentally changed the way that they make their boots. Because they used to just glue everything together, but now they've switched to a direct injected construction. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, like I mentioned, the previous boots, they would take the components, they put a layer of glue down, slap them together, compress it, let that glue set. Problem with that kind of construction is it's really prone to delamination, but it's a lot more affordable and it's easier to make changes on the fly, because the new way that Keen's doing it is through this direct injected, where you have to have these big, heavy metal molds that liquid hot polyurethane is injected into the molds with the upper in it. And as that foam fills the mold, it creeps into every single nook and cranny that it touches to fuse the upper of the boot to the bottom of the boot instead of just gluing it. The pros are it's more durable, it's less prone to failure and delamination because the layers are fused together. So that's why they're doing this delamination guarantee. And so really, they're mostly pros when it comes to direct injected. When it comes to this synthetic boot, that's, in my opinion, the better way to do it. But they also, because of that, they had to change some other things like the outsole. And it's maybe the most not talked about and less promoted part of this whole change, because the previous Targhees, they use a rubber outsole, which is really grippy, it has a long shelf life, and it's been the material of choice for outsoles since the invention of rubber in the early 1900s. So why would they change, and what did they change it to? And so we had to do a little bit of testing, put the flame to it, compared it against some other boots, and I'm pretty confident this is TPU. So they switched from rubber to TPU, which makes sense in this new construction, because almost all of these direct injected constructions have a polyurethane midsole with a thermopolyurethane outsole, but they definitely aren't advertising it. So why would they change it to TPU? Well, obviously it's easier for direct injection, but TPU is allegedly more durable than rubber. It's more puncture resistant. And that's why you see a lot of these new modern foam-based and synthetic work boots are almost always TPU outsoles and PU midsoles. Because for work, they're more corrosion resistant, they're better in high and low temperatures, and they're more oil and grease resistant. But are those claims even true? Well, we ran a few garage science tests, and it seems like there is something to that. And maybe the biggest thing that people would be concerned about is hydrolysis. Because if you remember some of the Blundstone stuff that we've covered, back in the day, Blundstones were notorious for if you put them in the closet for 2 or 3 years and pulled them out, that outsole just came crumbling off and became gooey and sticky. And allegedly Blundstone has solved that problem, and a lot of these more modern boots don't have that nearly as much. But what happens with hydrolysis is all these tiny little bubbles inside the foam and the TPU, the moisture in the air traps moisture inside those bubbles, and as that sits for years on end without being worn, it can break down that PU and TPU, making it really gooey and basically unwearable. So the way to prevent that is pretty simply just wear them, and you don't leave them in a closet for 3 years in a humid climate. But I still think it's something worth considering, because we don't know. It's a new style of boot for them, and we don't really know if this is going to be a problem 3 or 4 years down the road if you leave these in a closet. But they're also hiking boots, so just wear them and go hiking, you know. But how hard is this new compound they're using? Well, it comes in at like 75 short ice, so pretty hard compared to the rubber. 67 compared to the Arctic Grip, 69. This one's 59, the Ridge Flex 70. So it is harder, and it is fairly puncture resistant too, because it still took 95 pounds to puncture through. And so it's gonna be a trade-off no matter what. Anytime you're changing components or materials or compounds, there's always gonna be pros and cons. But one thing that really hasn't changed at all is the upper. It's very similar to the Targhee IV. It still has some leather on it. It's their LWG certified tannery. But this black is a 1.7 millimeter nubuck leather. The green is the same thing in nubuck leather at 1.7 millimeters thick. And then this black around the toe, it looks like leather, but it's not. It's fake leather. So why would they use fake leather on this new boot that's allegedly like supposed to be the most durable one that they've made? And honestly, I would still rather have leather around that. But I'm assuming the reason that they did it is fake leather bonds better than real leather when it comes to direct injected constructions. And so when they have this delamination guarantee, I'm assuming they went with that to just guarantee it was not gonna come apart. Ultimately for me, like I just like leather everything, and I like the breathability and all these things. So like my dream Keen boot would be a full leather upper that then is direct injected with the TPU and has all the benefits of Keen, but they don't make it. Maybe one day. And really the last thing to go over, because the more visible stuff didn't really change. It's more of the stuff you'd never notice, because like the insole's the same, still has the Keen dry lining, it has the waterproof lining on the inside, and just because it's sponsored, it'll give you all the pros and cons associated with it. We did run the waterproof test, clearly waterproof. But the pros and cons of this kind of lining is it can fail over time, because it's just a really thin layer, and as you bend it and fold it over a few hundred miles, it can fail. It can fail. It doesn't always fail. It can fail. And to me, they're just always hotter. Even though all these brands say it's breathable, it's permeable for vapor, but not for leather or for water, it's still always hotter. And for me, like I said at the beginning of the video, if I'm in need of a waterproof boot, it's usually when I'm hunting and the sagebrush and the scrub oak is just raining dew on you, and I need a taller boot to protect myself from that. You know, most of the time I'm not needing 3 or 4 inches of waterproof. I'm needing to keep all the water out at all cost. And they do have some taller ones. They have their insulated one that we cut apart for the winter boot series, but it's not like a dedicated 8-inch hiking boot for real hard hiking. And so once again, there are pros and cons associated with this waterproof and the height and all these things that you need to consider when buying a pair of boots. So let's cut this thing in half, see what's on the inside, see if there's any other changes on the inside, measure the foams, and see where we end up with this boot. All right, we got it chopped in half. And so let's see what's inside, take some measurements, and see if anything else has changed on the inside. So internally, basically the exact same as every other Keen that we've cut apart. So the thick foam midsole, that synthetic shank, and you know, that's about it. But there is a few things that are different, because this TPU outsole is thinner than some of the more like hiking rubber outsoles we've seen in the past. Part of that's probably due to the more abrasion resistance and a little bit heavier, so they keep it thinner. So it probably equals out at the end of the day. So we take a few measurements of the TPU, 2.5, 3 millimeters thick, compared to these other Keens that we cut apart that are the rubber outsole. They're more like 4 to 5 millimeters thick. So does that mean that this is more durable than the regular rubber outsoles? It's hard to say. There's just no way to really know unless you really do a side-by-side comparison. So I'm gonna wear these over the next few hunts that I'm going on this spring and really get some time in the trails. But we did run a couple abrasion tests, and it seems like it's at least on par, if not a little bit more durable, even though it's a couple millimeters thinner. But what about this internal TPU foam? Well, it comes in at a 27 Shore compared to the old EVA foams, 36 Shore. This one, 32 Shore. This feels a lot softer, 24 Shore. And then their little mountain, whatever they call it, 20 Shore. So it's still within the right range, and it feels really similar, but it does have a more like substantial feel. You can tell it's a little bit heavier of a material compared to an EVA. It seems like the EVA has a lot more air infused into it. You get more squish with the EVA and all those things we talked about, but you get more durability with the TPU or the PU. So trade-offs across the board ultimately. To the questions, is this the last hiking boot you'll buy? Like they said, did they make the most durable hiker on the market? No, there's plenty of other boots that are way more durable that are traditionally made, but it's still gonna be a super durable hiking boot, especially in this style. And I think it's worth mentioning that they aren't just trying to make them more durable for the marketing jargon and marketing purposes. Keenut has always focused on their impact that their boots make, not just on your feet, but after you wear them out, and the environmental impact, because their Keen Dry is PFAS free, their laces are 100% recycled plastic, and they even have natural probiotic for eco anti-odor control. I never even heard of that. I thought you just eat probiotics, to be honest. And it's got to be the most durable Targhee they've made, especially with that delamination guarantee. And the thing that I really like about Keen, it's one of these brands that actually backs up what they say and continue to improve the product for the end consumer instead of just improving the margins for themselves. So at the end of the day, did Keen completely change the way they make boots to cut corners, to save them money at the expense of the end consumer? Well, I don't see anything on the inside that points to them being cheaper. Everything is clearly made to be more durable, or at least the attempt to be more durable, but we don't really know because it is a brand new boot. It's a new construction, it's new materials, and I'm gonna take a pair of these on a couple hunts I have coming up to really try to wear them and get some real analysis of, is it actually more durable? Like what does it actually feel like out in the field? So we'll be having so I'll have an update video coming out on Rose Anvil 2 in a few months to kind of give my thoughts on it. So let me know what you guys think and what you think of the changes, what you might change, the things you would do to improve this, what your opinions are on it. So thanks for watching this video and all the support that you guys give us and these brands that make all this possible. So thank you guys. See ya.